Well, the channel is all right, but what are those soft skills? Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung, and today I'd like to clarify what all of this is about. What are soft skills? Most people have a general understanding that there are on one hand hard skills and on the other hand soft skills. And I think most people have a pretty clear picture of hard skills. Those are skills and qualifications we specifically acquire for a certain job, such as production of baked goods for a baker, or a law degree for a lawyer, or accounting for an accountant. However, things get more vague when we turn to soft skills. Those are the skills you also need in addition to the hard skills, and they are more general. Things like talking to people, organizing things. Alright, who came up with the whole thing? Because he should know, right? The terms soft skills and hard skills were introduced by the US military in the late 60s, early 70s. For them, the distinguishing factors were degree of interaction with a machine, degree of specificity of behavior to be performed, typical kind of on-the-job situation. However, even back then, for the US military, it was difficult to distinguish between hard skills and soft skills. There is a kind of funny passage of text that is about whether using a map is a hard skill or a soft skill. The term soft skill was not intended to be deprecative by the US military. However, today there are a lot of people who think hard skills are meaningful while soft skills are secondary or negligible. Therefore, the author and entrepreneur Seth Godin proposed in an article in 2017 to rename soft skills. And he proposed real skills as the new term. This article is also quite interesting because he lists a lot of specific examples for soft skills in this article. There are 5 categories: self-control, productivity, wisdom, perception, and influence. And for each there is a long list of examples of soft skills. Those include agility in the face of unexpected obstacles, compassion for those in need, sense of humor, stress management, entrepreneurial thinking and guts, lateral thinking, time management, artistic sense and good taste, strategic thinking, reframing, charisma. And those are just a few of the examples mentioned in that article. And for me, there are quite a few exotic ones in there. So maybe the question isn't what we should call soft skills, but what is included and what is not. Problem here is there is no generally accepted definition of soft skills. We get closest to that in the scientific area. In a scientific context, if soft skills are referred to, this usually means specifically social skills. At least this is how it works in Germany. In the German Wikipedia, if you enter soft skills as a search term, you will be forwarded to the article about social skills. However, this very specific definition is not sufficient for our everyday use and everyday understanding of soft skills. For example, in the English Wikipedia article about soft skills, there is a top 10 list created by the Eastern Kentucky University that includes the soft skills most desired by employers from college graduates. Those are communication, courtesy, flexibility, integrity, interpersonal skills, positive attitude, professionalism, responsibility, teamwork, and work ethic. Now I'd say maybe half of those are social skills, belong to social skills, and all the other belong to different areas. And it's similar with the examples in Seth Godin's article, or with the soft skills that appear in typical job advertisements, or the soft skills that are mentioned in articles, books, videos about soft skills. In our day-to-day use, we tend to define soft skills by exclusion. If it isn't a hard skill, well, it has to be a soft skill. And this is pretty much what I do myself, have to admit. For purely pragmatical reasons. Because at the beginning of a video, I do not want to say, welcome to the channel about soft skills, self-management, work-life balance, personal development, and whatnot. Just soft skills is much nicer and shorter. Now my understanding for myself, for my personal use, is that there are three main subcategories for soft skills. The first one are the aforementioned social skills. This includes communication, obviously, and also leadership, teamwork, solving conflicts, things like that. Then we have self-management, which covers all the skills you use to organize your day-to-day life and your work. Time management belongs in here with all its different aspects, such as setting priorities, task tracking, avoiding perfectionism, things like that. This is about short-term planning, about the short perspective. Planning for the next days, the next weeks, your current project, things like that. And third, we have work-life balance, which is about taking all the different parts of your life, such as your work, and from them forming a healthy whole that works for you in the long run. Though this is about the long perspective. This is about long-term planning, what you want to do in your life, where you want to go in your career, things like that. All skills that deal with health are also included here, such as stress management, workplace ergonomics, things like that. And I tend to also include personal development in here. However, it would be perfectly fine to regard this as a separate fourth category. Now, as I said, these categories are what I personally use, but they are in no way generally accepted or even generally known. My advice is, if you would like to improve your soft skills, first try to figure out what exactly the problem is, or where exactly you would like to have an improvement. Maybe it's difficult for you to present your point of view in meetings. Maybe there is too much pressure in your day-to-day life and you would like to reduce that. Maybe you have trouble organizing your work. Maybe you don't really know where you want to go in your life. figuring out what exactly the problem is or where exactly you would like to make an improvement is the first step towards finding a solution. I think in this channel we will look at a lot of different soft skills together and explore a lot of different soft skills. So you will get a lot of ideas and inspiration and information to find areas where you can make improvements and also help in making those improvements. Now, I personally think that all soft skills are derived from one basic skill, from a basic mindset we use to approach things. For example, we learn to speak when we are little children, and we can live all our lives without ever thinking about or learning about communication, social skills, and whatever. But we can also say, wait a moment, I'd like to know how this actually works. I'd like to learn about this and think about this, and I'd like to consciously do this rather than just letting it happen. And this curiosity and asking questions and consciously doing things, this is, from my point of view, the source and basis of all soft skills. What is your understanding of soft skills? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, why not click the thumbs up and the subscribe button? Thanks a lot. In this channel, we will look at a lot of exciting soft skills together. As a small follow-up to this video, I will also create one about the question, why should we bother with soft skills? What's in it for us? But next week we will look at another topic first, and this is etiquette, more specifically proper business attire. Until then, I take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.